Yes, I am back for another edition of your voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason. This is Beyond Reason Radio once again, and I am your host, Michael Yaffee, joined as well by one and only the producer, Tom Benton. How are you, Tom?
I am doing fine. How are you, sir?
Pretty good. I'm going to try to be a voice of reason today, and there's a lot of stuff that's going on that's kind of all over the place, especially...
It's a wacky world.
It's a wacky, yes, exactly. I mean, we kind of expected this with Trump being president.
It is less than 30 days, and it seems like it's been 30 months.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we're in 4 years. I'm going to have no hair. I'm going to have wrinkles all over my face of how busy and crazy it's been. But I have to talk about, well, first I have to tell you some news. There is a new way to catch what I've been thinking, what I say, and the podcast, where there is a new Beyond Reason Radio blog page on the WFLA website. So if you go to 1025WFLA.com, you click on the Good Morning Orlando tab, and then there will be Bud's blog, and right below that is Beyond Reason blog. And I actually posted a couple of things. I posted my thoughts, how we should all maybe get along just for one day on Valentine's Day. Is that too much to ask? Can we just love each other for one day yesterday on Valentine's Day? Well, it's not really what happened. So there was other stuff, and I posted the podcast on there as well. The best way to get a hold of me, though, is to like Beyond Reason Radio on Facebook, or send me a friend request on Facebook. Just search Michael Yaffee, or follow me on Twitter at Beyond Reason R. So there's no doubt, you all know this by now. The big story of the day is the resignation and the fallout of National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. And I have to tell you, I've never seen so many theories, so many different angles, so many different takes on why this happened. Is it a big deal or is it not a big deal? And where are the leaks coming from? And are the leaks the big story? Because the Democrats, they want to investigate Trump. They pretty much want to accuse him of being a KGB agent or a Russian spy himself, it seems like. The Republicans want to do investigations into the leaks, and I think there's a legitimate point there. So I want to go over all of this, all the different takes, and then I want to tell you what I think. And we can also take your calls as well, 407-916-5400, text to 23680. I think the best way to start with this is Trump at a news conference today. He was with Benjamin Netanyahu. They were talking about Israel, but he was asked and gave his comments on the whole Michael Flynn resignation. And this is what Trump had to say.
Michael Flynn, General Flynn, is a wonderful man. I think he's been treated very, very unfairly by the media. As I call it, the fake media in many cases. And I think it's really a sad thing that he was treated so badly. Papers are being leaked, things are being leaked. It's criminal action, criminal act. And it's been going on for a long time, before me. But now it's really going on. And people are trying to cover up for a terrible loss that the Democrats had under Hillary Clinton.
Okay, so a couple of points there. If the media was treating Michael Flynn so unfairly, why get rid of him? Why did he have to resign? I mean, what's the big deal then? If most of this is just a media hit job or an intelligence agency hit job, why did he have to resign? Frankly, I'm not honestly sure, because everything I've read, even the New York Times, even the left, even mainstream outlets, you know, they're theorizing a lot of things. They have a lot of speculation, but they have no evidence that anything illegal was actually done here. I mean, it seems like really all that happened is after Trump was elected, he knew he was going to be national security advisor, and he talked to Russia and said, don't overreact about sanctions or whatever, trying to get a good terms with Russia. Now, personally, I get uncomfortable when the Trump administration gets so cozy with Russia, but I'm not surprised by what Mike Flynn did, because Trump has been open and cozy with Russia. I mean, that's why he has said it in the past, that's why he picked Rex Tillerson as Secretary of State. It's probably one of the reasons why he picked Mike Flynn. So there's nothing illegal and nothing outrageous and nothing really secretive to suggest that Mike Flynn did anything so outrageous, so crazy by merely talking to Russia when he knew he was going to be the national security advisor. He knew he was on the list, and he was just talking to them about sanctions. Nothing illegal. Nobody's suggesting right now that he did anything illegal. So what's the big deal? Well, they keep saying that the big deal is, of course, the lie. And I just had I just had a comment on Facebook just now on Facebook Live. They said that the issue is Flynn lied to VP Pence about talking at all. Okay, I guess that's understood. Mike Pence came out, and said he didn't hear. Flynn said he didn't recollect or he lied about it and didn't really talk about it. I mean, I understand that, and that is kind of a problem. But I think there's a part of me that thinks Trump and them just made it worse by having him resign. Just have Mike Pence and Flynn kind of work it out. Have Mike Pence come out and say he shouldn't have done this, and Flynn apologize, and let's move on with our lives if we're really going to go down this road and see what happens. But he resigned, and it's just weird to hear Trump in a press conference basically defending Mike Flynn, even though they forced his resignation, and he accepted his resignation. So something is strange. There's something not right about this whole story, and it's on both sides. And I'm trying to be a voice of reason, but frankly, there's some things that I just don't understand. I'm going to get into why, because to me, the leaks are a big deal. Trump, at the end of that comment, talked about the leaks. He talked about they're criminal. He talked about they are a big deal and they need to be addressed with. Some people are saying, well, the leaks are not anything. We'll get to that later. I think personally it is a big deal. When you have your intelligence agency going behind the back and going against the president of the United States, the question you have to ask is, why is that happening? Why? And there's a lot of different theories on why that's happening. And we'll get to that. But I think the most reasonable comment on all of this that I heard this week actually came right before Mike Pence announced his resignation. Came from Charles Krauthammer, who was on Fox News that night on Special Report. And he was asked about this, and he commented on this. And when I heard this, I pretty much agreed. I think they're making a huge deal out of this, maybe when they shouldn't. This is what Krauthammer had to say.
Strikes me as how bizarre the whole story is. This is a cover-up without a crime. The idea that one should be all aghast because the incoming national security advisor spoke with the Russian ambassador and spoke about sanctions seems to me to be perfectly reasonable. The idea that it was illegal is preposterous. When I hear Nancy Pelosi get all upset about this and how in the grip of the Russians this shows us to be, this is an absurdity. But then you ask yourself, well, then why did he lie about it, even internally in talking to the vice president? And that shows a tremendous lapse of judgment and a sort of a lack of trustworthiness.
So basically what he's saying, and I agree with him, and by the way, Tom Benson pointed out I might have said Mike Pence resigned. Obviously, Pence didn't resign. Mike Flynn resigned. But what he was saying there is, one, there was a cover-up, but there was no crime. So why is there a big deal about the cover-up? There's no crime. The second thing he said is that at worst, right now, from what we can tell, the worst thing that happened is Mike Flynn had a lapse of judgment and poor judgment, and it works, and it goes against trustworthiness. Okay, is that the biggest? Because when you read the New York Times or the Washington Post, or you watch MSNBC or NBC or CNN, you're thinking there are some people saying this is the worst foreign policy scandal since Iran-Contra. And I'm thinking that, and I'm hearing Krauthammer, and I'm saying, why? Why is this the worst foreign policy scandal since Iran-Contra? I don't understand. Nobody can even prove that anything really shady was done or anything really illegal was done. And a lot of this goes back to what I was talking about before in past shows before, that the Democrats are starting to lose their credibility because every time something happens, they go crazy. They go nuts. Every time Trump's breathes, they want to call impeachment. And eventually they're going to lose their credibility because no one's going to believe them anymore if Trump actually does something really bad. But when I'm thinking about all this today, the question that really came to my mind today is why. A lot of people aren't asking why. Well, actually, a lot of people are asking why, and there are tons of different answers. But there's two questions. Why did they have to fire Mike Flynn or make him resign? But to me, the more important question is, why was this leaked in the first place? And why is this such a big deal? Why? Well, one of the theories is actually what Trump said in the audio I just played, that they are trying to once again delegitimize Trump's presidency and make up for losing to Trump, Hillary losing to Trump, Hillary losing the election. So this all goes back to the whole Russian hacking thing, and the reason why Trump won is his relationship with Russia instead of Hillary being just a really bad candidate. So that's one potential why the intelligence community was in all this and why there was leaks and all this stuff. Another potential explanation came from Bret Baier yesterday on Fox News and Special Report. And he talked about, I actually thought his wording was very clever on this. He talked about what his sources are saying about the intelligence community that seems to be leaking all this stuff about Trump. This is what Bret Baier said.
There are a number of different people on Capitol Hill and in the administration who I've talked about who are concerned that there is, in fact, this intelligence industrial complex that is trying to take out Donald Trump or somehow discredit him or get under and disqualify him or some of his officials that are working for him. And it's a real issue.
So he says, I thought this was very interesting, the intelligence industrial complex. The intelligence industrial complex. So he's saying that there's just this big intelligence industrial complex in the intelligence community right now, and they're trying to keep everything the way it is, and Trump's shaking things up, and they want to take him down, and they want to take people around him down. So that's one suggestion. So you have the whole thing about Hillary suggestion, you have that suggestion, and then I read in the Washington Free Beacon today that there's another possible angle to this on why the intelligence community is doing this. According to the Washington Free Beacon, they had a big report on this. They said the effort, said to include former Obama administration advisor Ben Rhodes, the architect of a separate White House effort to create what he described as a pro-Iran echo chamber, included a small task force of Obama loyalists who deluged media outlets with stories aimed at eroding Flynn's credibility. What the reason why they wanted to do this and discredit Flynn, because he was a big opponent of the Iran nuclear deal. So the reason why they didn't like Flynn, the intelligence community didn't like Flynn, a lot of these Obama holdovers in the intelligence community did not like Flynn, is because Mike Flynn was big against Iran. In fact, one of the first things Mike Flynn did when he became National Security Advisor is came out in a press conference and put Iran on notice. You can all remember that. So they're saying the intelligence community came out. They don't like all this tough talk on Iran. They like the Iran deal the way it is, and they're going against Trump and getting rid of Mike Flynn because of that. So that's another possible reason that the leaks have come out. What do I think about this? You're probably wondering. What does Yaffee think? What does the voice of reason think the reason is behind all this? Well, I'll tell you. I think all of this is pure partisan politics. That's it. I think it's all just partisan politics. I think we have seen partisanship in the divide between left and right in every aspect of this country now. We see it in businesses and boycotts for businesses. We see it in Hollywood, constantly being talked about it in Hollywood. We see it in the media, of course, and we see it everywhere. We see it in sports now. So if we're seeing this partisanship, this big divide, this hatred for the other side so much in all those other places, why wouldn't we see it in the intelligence community? Why wouldn't we see it in the bureaucracy? I think we would see it in the bureaucracy. I think there are people in the bureaucracies and in the intelligence community who are just partisan, who just hate the other side, who just hate the right and hate Republicans and hate Trump, and that they just want to attack Trump because of that reason. And they get so caught up in this that's why they're doing this. I don't think there's some kind of big worry that Trump is, a Russian spy or something. We had Keith Olbermann. I played Keith Olbermann a few weeks or a month ago or something, where he basically accused Trump of being a puppet of Putin and a Russian spy.
Manchurian candidate.
Yeah, Manchurian candidate and all this. I mean, that's complete nonsense. It's really absurd. So when I see all this, they're trying everything they can. They grab onto everything they can in the intelligence community, in the media, in all these places to try to discredit Trump because we're just that divided right now. And unfortunately, we wanted to believe that the intelligence community was different. We wanted to believe that the people in the CIA and NSA and all that stuff would put their partisan politics at the door, for instance, would save that at home, and then they would go in and they would do their job and they would work for their president. It looks like that's not the case. It looks like this has been, and Trump is such a divisive figure, that this has been infiltrated even into our bureaucracies, even into our intelligence community.
There's some Democrats who have been saying, what did Trump know and when did he know it? Well, Flynn supposedly reached out to Russia with these phone calls in December.
Yeah.
Trump was not president. So the
Right.
question then remains, what did Obama know and when did he know it?
Well, and yeah, that's the other thing.
As the guy who's the head of all the security and gets all the national NSA briefings before Trump takes office, I mean, you got to wonder.
Well, and not only this, but yeah, exactly. There's talk that Obama, even in the campaign, was like spying on Trump's campaign people. Well, I mean, why do they have this of Michael Flynn in the first place? Why do they say, oh, well, they just so happened to get, because they were keeping track of the Russian ambassador and they just happened to hear a phone call? No. They were actively looking for something from the beginning to discredit Trump, even before he was elected.
Well, let's just suppose Obama wanted to protect his legacy. Big chunk of that, besides Obamacare, is the fact that he has this deal with Iran.
Yeah, and other stuff. So, but all of that goes back to partisan politics. I mean, really, I understand that people are worried that Trump's too cozy with Putin. That has been one of the biggest concerns of mine, is that Trump is always eager to defend Russia. But that doesn't mean that Flynn did anything unreasonable or illegal. And even if Trump knew about it and maybe even asked Flynn to do it ahead of time, there was still nothing that unreasonable and illegal about it. There just isn't. So, and then going back into the whole Russia thing, there's some new developments dealing with Russia this week and Trump that throw another wrench in all of this Beyond Reason stuff. 407-916-5400. Text to 23680. We're on Facebook Live as well. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee, here on News Radio 102.5 WFLA. We'll be right back.
You know what's Beyond Reason? Yaffee is now on YouTube. Go to YouTube now and just search Beyond Reason Radio. Your voice of truth in a world of fake news. Beyond Reason Radio continues right now.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. This is Beyond Reason Radio, Orlando Smart Talk Radio. I am your host, Michael Yaffee. We're on until 10 p.m. tonight. Make sure to send me a friend request on Facebook. Search Michael Yaffee. Send me a friend request. But I'm getting a bunch of different little comments on Facebook right now. Very interesting. Some people even kind of debating each other on the Facebook thing. But we're on Facebook Live right now as well. And you can watch the whole show there as well. Let's take a call here real quick. We've been talking about the Mike Flynn resignation and the fallout over it. And I gave a whole bunch of reasons why people are saying this happened, why people said the leaks happened. I told you I think it's all just partisan politics. I mean, I really do. It's everywhere in our society now. Let's take a call here. Joe in Titusville. Joe, what do you think about this?
Hi, Jaffee. I'm glad to finally hear your show. I listen to you in the morning with Bud.
Oh, great.
Well, I don't think it's as partisan as you think it is, okay? I think sometimes these things are chance. And I'll tell you this. Everybody's talking about Flynn and what's legal or not. You forget one thing, okay, and that is he's ex-military. He's an officer. His ID says indefinite. Okay, I'm a service member myself. Okay, there are things that a private citizen can do that even a retired general can't do. Okay, there are laws on the books as a retired military.
Well, what are those laws? Because, I mean, literally, I haven't heard anybody suggest anything illegal.
Oh, the thing is that they have classified information by the nature of their jobs. Okay, and even though they're retired, there are certain things they still can't say or can be prosecuted for. So you have to look under the military justice for these things. Now, whether he said anything classified or not, I don't know. But, you know, there are places I can't go as a retired person. You know, I should say I can go, but they question. Okay.
Gotcha. Oh, okay.
Due to the nature of my job. And he was also a CIA director. Okay.
Right.
So he got tons of stuff that he could inform Russia or any other country, for that matter, on that could hurt this country. So they're on a tighter leash than the average American. So you can't treat them like an average American because
Joe. Okay, I gotcha. All right. Thanks, Joe. I understand what he's saying. I mean, from everything I read, the only thing he said is told them not to worry so much about sanctions or don't overreact if they have sanctions. I mean, that was really, that's all. That seems to be the whole controversy from everything. So I'm not sure. So I want to get into something real quick here because I keep hearing this whole idea of Trump is in bed with Russia. Trump is Putin's puppet. Trump is practically a Russian spy. Well, that kind of doesn't go along with what happened this week in dealing with Russia. And I found some audio here. It was on Fox News from former ambassador to Georgia, the country Georgia, William Courtney. And he was asked about this because Russia has been doing some interesting, provocative things to us and around us that has been very interesting and kind of goes against the whole narrative that Trump is somehow in bed with Russia. And this is what he had to say about it.
This is part of an escalation. On January 28th, President Trump and President Putin had their first phone call. Before that phone call, the Russians thought that President Trump was going to lift sanctions on Russia, but that didn't happen in the phone call. The Russians feel a little betrayed, if you will, so within 24 hours after that phone call, they ramped up the fighting in eastern Ukraine, and they've taken several other steps, including the ship off New London, Connecticut, and buzzing a U.S. warship in the Black Sea. This was really a lot of disappointment that the Kremlin had that President Trump did not lift sanctions. In fact, the Kremlin had let Russians believe that President Trump was going to make some important concessions to improve relations. And then when that didn't happen in the phone call, I think the Kremlin was concerned that Russians believed that the Kremlin was a little naive, if you will. And so the Kremlin seems to have decided to react by ramping up pressure on President Trump.
So there you have the ambassador saying that Russia is basically escalating tensions with us right now because they didn't lift sanctions and the phone call didn't go as well as they wanted. They have a spy ship right off the coast of Connecticut. They're buzzing our U.S. ships, and I'm hearing this, I'm reading this, I'm listening to this, and I'm thinking, but I thought Trump was Putin's puppet. I thought Trump was, some kind of Russian spy. I mean, if that is the case and they're like best buds and best friends, how is it that Russia is all of a sudden escalating tensions with us and all this stuff? And it seems like there's some disagreements there. So, I've always been kind of uncomfortable, like I said before, with Trump's seeming to always want to defend Russia. But to go as far as the Democrats go, that they're somehow in bed with each other, I mean, just the actions of this week seem to suggest that that's not really the case, that's not really what's going on. So that's what I'm saying here when I try to be a voice of reason, especially through all of this, is there's so much stuff out there that just gets so beyond reason. All these different theories about the leaks, all these different theories about Trump and Russia and Mike Flynn of Russia. And then you actually look down at what's actually going on in the facts, and it seems to be a different story. It seems like everything I've heard that it's partisan politics in the intelligence community. I'm pretty convinced of that. In that, Trump wants to have a friendly relationship with Russia. Not exactly sure why, but maybe he just likes Russia, but he seems to want to have a relationship with Russia, but he's not some kind of KGB spy because right now there are big tensions between us and Russia, and Putin's trying to flex his muscles. I don't know if he would do that if him and Trump were just best buds. So we'll see what happens. And there's a lot more we can get to on this as well, and I have more calls coming in as well. 407-916-5400. You can text to 23680. Much more to get to. And by the way, I will end the show today with things that made Yaffee laughy. Things that made me laugh has to do with Valentine's Day. It's pretty good stuff and a lot more to get to. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I am your host, Michael Yaffee. We'll be right back.
Subscribe to the Beyond Reason podcast today on your Stitcher app and hear the voice of reason anytime. Your safe space for conservative thought, not for political correctness. Yaffee is back right now.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I am your host, Michael Yaffee, and I'm getting a text that coming in. You can always text the show at 23680. It's 23680. One person said, Yaffee, Flynn did nothing wrong. Sessions needs to investigate this issue ASAP. Lock up the person who leaked info. Do not prolong the investigation. I think actually it seems like the Republicans are going to investigate. Who knows how hard they're going to investigate. A lot of people think some Republicans are in on this. So it's another crazy angle to all this. But the last thing I wanted to do to wrap up this whole talk on Michael Flynn, resignation, and the fallout and all the controversy surrounding it is I heard some audio. I found this online from Joe Scarborough, from his Morning Joe show. And he was talking about this. He says he's a conservative Republican. Sometimes I wonder. But he was talking about this. And his whole take on the leaks kind of shocked me. I couldn't really believe what he was saying. Let's just listen. This is what he had to say.
How disheartening it was to see several people on the Hill and some editorial writers say this isn't about the Russian connections. Yeah. This is about leaks and saying, boy, what does it say? Have we become a national security state who spies on its own people? That actually is so separated from the context of what has happened over the past 18 months, where you have people like Paul Manafort with Russian connections running the campaign for Donald Trump. We have information, and the intel community has had information of connections between the Russians and members of Donald Trump's campaign at the very same time that the Russians are trying to fix the United States of America's election for president of the United States. Yeah. Republicans and editorial writers cannot be so stupid as to pretend that they just picked on poor Michael Flynn out of nowhere. No. Michael Flynn, a man who visited Russia, had dinner with Putin, was believed to have received payments from Russia. Do you think they would have done this to Rex Tillerson? No, they wouldn't have done it to Rex Tillerson. They wouldn't have done it to James Mattis. They would not have done it to John Kelly. They would not have done it to other members of Donald Trump's cabinet. So Republicans, you can just stop that BS.
Well, Republicans,
and editorial writers, stop shaming yourself.
Note to
stop shaming yourself.
If you haven't learned.
I couldn't disagree with that more. I mean, the only part he did say is, yes, there has been some weird connections between Trump campaign and Russia. But to say that the leaks are not an issue, that they're just a sidetrack, to me is insane, because Mike Flynn didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything illegal. So why are they leaking? And why is this happening? And to say, well, they wouldn't have done it with Rex Tillerson, and I bet you they would have. They've actually said they've leaked so much already. This is not just one instance, or this is the only leak that's happened. They leaked phone calls he had with the Australian Prime Minister and the Mexican leader, and they've leaked other phone calls, and they leaked other information that had nothing to do with this, and national security meetings and all this stuff. So to say that, the Mike Flynn thing is a separate issue, we need to focus on that, and it has nothing to do with each other. I mean, I think it is a very serious issue if you have the intelligence community leaking information of the president, national security information, just leaking it to the media willy-nilly because of partisan politics. That is an issue. That is definitely not something that I think they should be doing, especially if Michael Flynn didn't even do anything illegal. So there you go. It was just something I had to point out on that. So I wanted to get into something else. We're talking about partisan politics. We're talking about how our country is so divided everywhere on everything, and everything is about politics. Just go on Facebook one day, Hollywood, the Grammys had it. But speaking of the Grammys, there was a singer who wasn't as well known. Her name was Joy Villa. Her name is Joy Villa. And she wore a dress that said, "Make America Great Again." And she wore this dress, and it became a big deal. Now, part of it maybe is a publicity stunt, and I understand that. And part of it, at first I was kind of like, because, the right's like, "Oh, yeah, this is great." And I'm like, can't we just get politics out of all this stuff? Like, so now we're just going to have both sides rant their political stuff at the Grammys. So there was a part of me that was like, oh dear, I don't want political dresses at award shows and everything. But speaking of that, I happened to hear the interview with her on Fox and Friends. And she actually made a lot of good points on this, though, that kind of made me more sympathetic to what she did, more encouraging of what she did. Because what she said about it was very interesting, and I think she's right on this issue. And she talked about why she decided to wear that dress. And this is what she said.
There was a lot of controversy around the president and a lot of hate, honestly, and I wanted to change the narrative. I wanted in some small way to just show support and unity. And it's not about who you voted for or what you believe. It's more about love and unifying. As the United States of America, for the world, they look at us, and if we're divided, it doesn't paint a good picture. So I wanted this dress to be a beacon of hope for love, for support, and for making a decision to go against the grain and to show support for something that is not talked about in the media, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So it was a statement of love above all. That's why I wanted to do it. And Andre, he and I both decided we're going to do love. Now, democracy is about, different viewpoints, and that's totally okay. But when it starts to become a bullying platform, that I'm not going to be your friend, or you can't be a good person because of who you voted for, it's wrong. That I do not believe in. So we said, let's change the narrative.
So she was talking about that the reason she did it is she felt like in Hollywood, and you're dealing with the music industry, you're dealing with the movie industry, you're dealing with the entertainment industry, there were people that supported Trump that were scared to even mention it. They were scared to even say it. And she was talking about how that's not right. That's not the way it should be in our country. And if the left is constantly throwing this in our face all the time, she said she just wanted to point out some love, that there is, half the country out there that did support Trump, half the country out there that did. And she was talking about democracy has gotten to a point where you hate someone, and it seems to happen a lot in Hollywood and everything, where you hate someone on the other side just because of who they voted for. And she's saying how that's not the way it should be, and she wanted to kind of make a change, make a difference in that regard. Now, both sides do this. Like I said, we're so divided that both sides just hate each other. Marco Rubio, I've talked about this before, he made a speech where he said, we have a real problem if 50% of the country hates the other half of the country. We can't ever get anything done. And I think it does happen on both sides. But I thought what she said was very interesting. Remember that she's part African-American, part Indian, and part Italian. And yet she's supporting Trump. And her designer is supporting Trump. And this is something where it's like, let's stop vilifying out of Hollywood and out of the music industry and out of the entertainment industry everyone just because who they voted for. And so she wanted to show that, hey, there's some love from some of us in the music industry out there. And so I actually thought those were very good comments. Let's take a call here. Let's go to Rob in Castleberry. Rob, you've been waiting a little while, and you actually had some comments on this as well.
Thanks, Michael, for taking my call.
You're welcome.
Heard the story about Joy Villa on another talk show program, and I understand she went from a ranking, I didn't know they ranked this low, but from 5,043,202 to number 3.
You mean in album sales or?
No, in the rankings, they have a I didn't even really rank them that low, but yes, from 5,000.
Oh yeah, her sales,
202 to number 3 to number 1 yesterday. And
yeah, her sales have definitely skyrocketed. She said she had been surprised at how much support she got for it.
Well, her album "Make the Static," I haven't heard it yet, and I commend her for standing up and speaking her mind and being a voice of reason, to turn a phrase.
Yeah.
But last week we had a brief conversation about how Trump supporters can support those who can bend the needle, and
right.
she certainly did it.
And they are, and that it kind of shows. Thank you for your call. It kind of shows where we are. It kind of shows that, we're just so, and I think a lot of her supporters just, people are so tired of being bashed by everyone at the Grammys and the Oscars, and to actually have someone kind of do the opposite. It's just kind of, to them, it's just refreshing that, hey, this is something different. Let's support them. She actually had the guts to say, hey, I'm not like everyone else. I don't hate you because you voted for Trump. So I don't know. I thought it was very interesting. I thought her comments were well stated and very reasonable in that regard. So we're going to end this show today in the next segment with stories that made Yaffee laughy, or things that made Yaffee laughy. Yes, things that made me laugh. And maybe some other stuff as well. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I am your host, Michael Yaffee, and we will be right back.
If you like Beyond Reason Radio, well, make sure to show it by liking the Facebook page at facebook.com/Beyond Reason Radio, the place where we talk faith, culture, and politics. Beyond Reason Radio continues.
Heels are itching to hit the road, shake the stress off and just let go. I want glitter like a disco ball, let my light shine, just take off my heart.
So this is Joy Villa, huh? Actually pretty good. I mean, I'm more of a heavy metal hard rock guy, but it's pretty good.
She has a well-produced video with this, too.
Oh, really? I mean, it sounds great. Production-wise, this is produced very well.
Yeah. Top notch.
Good. I'm glad there's good music behind it. It would have been really bad if she was just awful. So, all right. So this is Beyond Reason Radio. I am your host, Michael Yaffee. Before I get into things that made me laughy, because, there are things out there that made me laugh, I have to say one thing real quick. I saw the movie Arrival, finally. And, I rented it. And I just have to say it's the most overrated movie of the year, I think. I think it was the most overrated movie of the past year. I don't understand what the big deal was. I mean, I like the director. He's done other stuff that's really good. Amy Adams did okay, but I really thought Arrival is the most overrated movie of the last year. I mean, the story was interesting, but it just wasn't a very entertaining movie. And there was some of it that was just weird. And of course they had a dig at talk radio in there as well. A dig at talk radio in part of it. So I didn't like that either, but there was just some stuff in there that was just, I don't know. It was weird. They had a twist at the end that was like, okay, was that really necessary to the plot of the story? But whatever. Maybe I'm just not sophisticated enough to understand it. All right. So I thought to end the show today, I would get you, to laugh a little bit. And what better way to make you laugh than Trump Valentines? I saw these on somebody sent me these on Facebook. And they're Trump, Valentines that you can give to a girl for Valentine's Day if you want to, spread the love.
Supposedly written by Donald, is that the deal?
Well, it's pretty much, yes. And that's like a picture of Donald. You can see like little pictures here, if you see the camera.
Got it.
And it's like here's the first one, Tom Benson. Illegal immigrants are stealing our jobs, but you're stealing my heart.
I see. Okay, that's good.
It's good. That's clever. I like it. Another one says, I'm going to build a wall around your heart so no one else can get in. And then there's this one. I want you on my side of the wall.
Mm-hmm.
So, those are ones sent to me. I'm going to Google it. I bet you there's like a ton more. Let's see. Trump Valentines. Those are the ones that were sent to me. Let's see here. Putin says he's willing to share me with you. That one's not. That one's not very nice. Yeah. Oh, here's one. I wouldn't deport you. Oh, okay. Here's a good one. These are great. I'm telling you. Things make me laugh here. I'd lift my travel ban for you, baby.
There you go. Oh, man.
Let's see. Oh, yeah, I like this. This is clever. This is really good. China keeps beating us in trade, but I wouldn't trade you for the world.
Oh,
this is so great. I just think this is so funny. I'd executive order you in my arms.
Uh-huh.
Are people tired of this yet? I don't know. I think it's hilarious. You've built a wall in my heart. I'm ready to roll. Okay, no, that's dumb. No, some of these are just like really mean. A lot of them are just I want you on the side of my wall. Oh, here we go. I'd brag about you like I brag about my ratings. Let's see. I need like one more good one here before we go. No, they're all the same ones. No. Some of these are very inappropriate. All right. I guess that's it. Oh, yeah, here we go. Jeb's low energy, but you electrify me. There we go. Valentine's from Trump. Just out there for you. This has been Beyond Reason Radio. Hope you got a good laugh out of that. I will be back on tomorrow night as well. Make sure to give me a friend request on Facebook, or you can like us at Beyond Reason Radio. And, well, I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for listening.